Know the agenda and be able to identify the path and the intended outcome. Hello, it's Peter Merrick, and I want to talk on this subject of know the agenda so you'll be able to identify the path and the intended outcome. Most people don't have a plan. And by not having a plan, someone else's agenda could be forced upon you, and you will acquiesce to it, give in to it, and end up accomplishing their goals and going on their path rather than identifying your path. This message is for both the young, aspiring entrepreneur and the old warrior who has actually built an incredible business. This is for the professional, and this is for the student. Know the agenda. Through knowing the agenda, you'll be able to identify the path you're being led on to achieve the intended outcome. Now let me give you a few examples of this in life. When your car breaks down, you're going to think about a new car. Now, car companies are always putting out new models to bring you into the dealerships. They don't build these cars to last forever. They don't. Did you know that there are special programs out there to incentivize you to bring in your older model to buy a new one? This happens with your iPhone, this happens with cars. Cars, in this example, are built to be obsolete. You heard what I said? Built to be obsolete. So the agenda for a car company is for you to buy a new car. The agenda for Apple is for you to buy a new phone. Now, when you walk into a store, let's use the example, you walk into a dealership and someone says hello to you. You are now following the plan. They know that when you walk in, you might say that you're looking, but the path they're leading you on and the intended outcome is for you to have a new car. Now, this is something which is powerful for those of you like myself who sell. That if someone shows up, what's happening is they are following the agenda. Now, someone is going to put them into a new car. The question is, do you know what the agenda is? And are you going to be the person to put them into the car? The same thing happens when someone walks into a shopping mall. In a former life, I have a degree in urban planning, and I'll tell you why I liked it. It came out of sociology and anthropology, and also building and geography. It's understood that if you create a certain maze, people will follow it. So when people go into a shopping mall, the agenda for a shopping mall is to get you to buy something, most likely when you did not intend to do it. But just by showing up and by you taking that path, that route that was created, the desired outcome is you purchase something at the mall. Now let me share with you a real life story that I went through close to 30 years ago. Before I started specifically focusing on business owners and succession planning, I got my teeth cut when I started working specifically with computer professionals in the 90s. It was an incredible time in the 90s. You had Y2K, the world was supposed to end when the 2 zeros showed up again. And you also had the internet. So technology was taking off. I used to go to IBM Labs, a research center, one of the largest research centers in the world, this IBM Labs. And I would sit down with individuals who worked there, both computer consultants and employees. So I sat down with this computer consultant who is from Eastern Europe. who understood my agenda and understood that I was trying to put him on a path. We went to the cafeteria and I wanted to buy him a cup of coffee. And he said, I'm not going to take your cup of coffee because then I will feel obligated to buy from you. See, this is it. The only way that you cannot be compliant is if you decide to remove yourself from that situation. You might be aware that that situation is occurring. However, the only way for it not to happen is for you to choose not to go down that route. And also, if you want to set an agenda, you have to specifically know where you want to go and then identify how do you get people to buy your agenda. Or you will buy someone else's agenda but become conscious of it. Now I want to leave with a metaphor, a story that gives power back to the individual, because that's what this little video is about, giving you power of choice to choosing your direction. And I feel very honored that I've worked with people who've actually taken their power back. They're entrepreneurs. They've given themselves the ability to choose to succeed and choose to fail. And that happens to be true power. So the story goes like this. There's an individual, he's leaving his work and he's going home and he turns on a street and there's a big hole, he doesn't see it, he falls into that hole and he is hurt. He pulls himself out. The next day, he goes from work, he goes down that street, he sees that same hole, he falls into that hole and he's hurt, and he pulls himself out and he goes home. The next day he leaves work, he sees the hole, he steps around the hole. So this time he takes extra time just like he did before, but he does not get hurt. He's conscious, he sees it, it's aware. He does that for a number of months. He takes that way home and he steps around the hole and he wastes a lot of time. One day, he's going home. He sees the street with a hole and he makes a conscious decision. I'm going to take another way home. What I hope you take from that story is whatever holes you've fallen into, whatever agendas you've fallen into, it's time to step back, question, and move forward. The greatest opportunity for those of you who've been successful is upon us now. And I'll share with you what that is. You have resources because you spent your life developing them. You've been the kings and queens of Main Street. And now it's time for you to take that great lesson and your great resources and to empower the next generation to see clearly, to see that many people unconsciously fall onto a path that is not the path that they're supposed to be on because they were never conscious. They never agreed consciously to being on that path. And the greatest, the luckiest people out there happen to be people who find mentors early on in their lives, who can show them to go left instead of right and to give them direction. Yes, we all fall into those holes, but hopefully we're able to actually choose our own street earlier on in our lives. I want to thank you for joining with me today, and I have a favor. If you like this video, give me a like, please give me a share, please make a comment, and if we're not connected, please follow. Go out there, set your own agenda, because if you're not, someone else is. And that's not a life that any of us intend to live.